Okay, we're live. Hello and welcome to our next session. This session is called Rising Sea, the Southeast Asian Game Dev Gathering. My name is Chad Toprak. I'm the director of Freeplay. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging that Freeplay hosts and broadcasts from the stolen lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, where stories have been shared and games have been played since time immemorial. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to anyone watching who has a connection with the world's oldest continuing culture. Sovereignty was never ceded, and the violence of the colonial project is ongoing. Freeplay also stands in solidarity with Black communities, both here and around the world, against prejudice, injustice, and violence. Black Lives Matter is not a new or revolutionary statement, but it is one that needs to be said and said again and said louder. And with that, I would like to introduce you to Gwen Gore from Singapore. And Gwen will be kind of handling and moderating this session. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Gwen.
Yay, thank you, Chad. First of all, thanks to Chad and the Freeplay team for having us here. I mean, almost like every year, like Freeplay has been inviting Southeast Asia down to have a panel, and we really, really appreciate it because Southeast Asia, as you know, is not very well represented elsewhere outside of our own Southeast Asian bubble. So I really appreciate that we have visibility on this platform on Freeplay. And hi, I'm Gwen. So today I'm representing Singapore Games Guild and Singapore Games Association. It's a non-profit community run in Singapore for game developers. And alongside with me, I have some really cool people. So I have Duncan, Michelle, and Rena. Can you all introduce yourselves?
Hello. Hi, my name is Duncan. I run the game audio side, the Malaysia side of game audio, and I'm a sound designer pretty much. And yeah, just happy to be part of Rising Sea and happy to talk about our challenges and what we love about Rising Sea, so to say.
Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle. So I'm from the Philippines and Taiwan, but I'm currently in Melbourne, and I'm a game developer. And I would like to acknowledge that Gwen Foster, who organizes all the amazing events in the Philippines, along with other game developers in the Philippines. And sadly, because internet isn't that great in the Philippines, so I'm here. but we wish that they are here with us today. But yeah.
Rena?
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Rena. I'm from Indonesia, and mostly I do 2D arts and illustrator. And I'm here representing Mojiken Studio.
Yay! Thanks everyone. Yeah. So I think for those of you who are watching, today is not just about talking about Southeast Asia in a broad spectrum. We also want to zero in on the Rising Sea initiative. So the story of how it started was really interesting, and I think all of us here, we know about Level Up KL, which is a conference in KL that happens every year in Malaysia. And it's often been like a really cool meetup point for a lot of Southeast Asians. So I'm really sad that Gwen Foster can't join us today. It's really, really, I mean, we love her. And like one day we just had an idea, hey, why don't we get Southeast Asians to collaborate since we are already meeting up as friends at Level Up KL so often, And so we just decided to spawn off Rising Sea as an initiative along with Chad, who was really, really supportive all the way, And then later on, we got Rena to join us on board so that we can have Indonesian representation as well. And it was really, really cool. It's been a great journey so far. So I think that's how we got in. And the introduction of it is that in February, we had 3 days of audio jam. 1 day of audio jam within 3 hours. So within 3 hours, we have the theme woven, and the audio team had like 3 hours to create it. And then 1 month later, it would go to the developers in Philippines, where they had 12 hours to interpret the music from the jam and create games out from it. And then 1 month later, it was sent over to Indonesia, where they would actually make artwork based on the games. So I think it'll be interesting to hear about each of the challenges and what happened within each of these countries. Maybe we start with Rena for the art one. We move backwards.
Yeah, okay, so from the latest one, actually, at first we have the audio, and second we have the game jam, and Indonesia get the art jam, I guess. From my side, it's all kind of like last minute organizing stuff because things in Indonesia and everything that we have, what is it? We have late COVID in fact, I don't know how to describe it. So the corona is arrived late in Indonesia, so we cannot get stuff done later than the whole world, I guess. So we plan the event as an online event. So we hang out in Discord server, and we share each of our screen while we have the jam in Google Hangout, so something like that. Yeah, so the jam is held around 3 hours, I guess. So 3 hours we have we see the game, we try to play the game, we try to the interesting one, we since what we have from Philippines is only 8 games, I guess, 8 games, and the people who join the out jam is 10. So the other no not 10, it's 11, I guess. So the other 3 choose to make the cover out from the audio jam. So they hear the music and they want to try to make it into some artworks. Yeah. So the thing is, the interesting things is that I'm not used to use Discord, and the participant is so supporting each other, I guess. So when people like they try to they try to help me with technical stuff, setting up the Google Hangout and stuff, and the other like, oh, okay, we put the music board in here and stuff, and it's like it came up naturally smooth, and that's why I'm so proud of every people in here, and that makes me realize that Rising Sea is more about everyone else, everyone in Southeast Asia. So it's not just about we as the initiator, I guess. So I think if you still I think it's more like we want to share the spirit, and somehow in Indonesian Out Jam, I get that spirit. Maybe that's all from me.
Yeah, it's really cool because like you mentioned that you experience some technical difficulties, but people from your community automatically came to help you. So it really became like a team effort, that you're not just just leading them and telling them what to do.
Yeah, it's more like at first I tried to support whatever participants, so they didn't have to work everything up and just draw. But somehow it's like they naturally try to help me, and that makes my heart warm. You guys awesome.
Yeah. Well, I hope the artists that helped Rena out, you guys are watching this,
Yeah. You helped me a lot, Thanks, guys.
Okay. Then, so before the artwork that went to Indonesia, maybe Michelle, you can share with us how it happened in the Philippines and how the teams got split up, how do you form teams and how do you decide which music to use?
So when we started the game jam, it was also post-lockdown, so we're all working from home. But we were all hanging out in Discord. Discord is amazing. So we have a voice chat and everyone's hanging out there. I think the biggest challenge that we face is because Malaysia, Singapore, the music, it's so hard to tune. like all of
They
them
so
are
beautiful, I
amazing.
know.
Yeah, I spent
to
like
hear.
a week, like I spent the longest time listening to everything and like really deciding like which one to use, because like and a lot of them, like the one that we like my team, we end up making two games. So one of the games that I made is with my team Apple is we saw a music by Kian, and then he wrote three tracks. So he has one bass track and one track for each player. And his idea was this music. Oh, I'm sorry. Is Kian a girl? Kian is a she. I'm so, I'm so sorry because I didn't get to. I feel like the next time we should do this in real life so we could see each other.
Yes.
But yeah, so we didn't get to interact with Kian, but her music was amazing. So she wrote like she wanted the music to be like woven because the theme of this jam is woven. So it's like depends on how the player acts or like makes an action, it'll be like the music is interwoven with each other. And I thought of really honing in on that woven idea. So I came up with a game that we call Beat Weavers, which is a keyboard twister, because I really wanted to drill in on so Apple drew like Southeast Asian weaving patterns as the background. And the point of the weaving is when you're playing the game, you'll literally have two players. I don't have another friend, but it's two of my hands. You have to like really weave with each other, which is why I really want to see people's videos of them playing the game, because it's really interesting, like weaving, like the team woven from coming from that audio perspective to a game mechanic perspective and really seeing that physicality. Except like maybe COVID is now not the best time to play a game where you're touching someone's hand, but yeah.
Hand sanitizer first.
Hand sanitizer and then like, yeah, we have a term in the Philippines called kilig, which is that feeling when you accidentally touch your crush's hand. So I'm like, this game has extra kilig factor. Yeah. And another game that we made, which Apple came up with, is we called it Pickup Beats. And it's also like building on that music, like as you so the traditional game of pickup sticks is you're picking up sticks, and it's also a two-player game, and as people pick up sticks, the music just builds up. So we really like, and it's quite interesting because the first thing that Gwen Foster told us about this jam is make a game that's inspired by the music but no rhythm games. All right, okay. So it really helped like encourage us to think out of the box. And yeah,
It's great.
and the rest of and everybody else, like I was looking at all the games that we released just today.
Yay! Yes, first shout out
Yay!
of the day. By the way, we just launched the games today. Let me just paste the URL in the chat so you can check it out if you want to while we are chatting here. Yes, we have launched it. So yes, congratulations to all the teams. I wanted to say that I did play the woven beats game. And okay, at first I thought it was like for two players. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm just gonna use one player.
Yeah.
But one player,
two-player.
one player turned out to be like if I play by myself, it's still very challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really meant to be two-player, but during isolation, I was all alone, so I could only test it myself. But after isolation's over, play with a friend, play with a family member. It'll be more fun. But
Yeah. So I mean, I wanted to know, like, because I wasn't there during the development period, right? When y'all were in Discord, did like the different teams talk to each other?
Yeah, so during the whole, because ours is a longer jam, like, because the music jam and our jam's 3 hours. Ours is like 12 hours. Well, we just hang out there for the whole day. Yeah, it was one day of everyone hanging out on Discord. And we also kind of like everyone sharing their ideas, because all of us are like listening to all the music together and then like bouncing ideas off each other. And then Gwen Foster would also give us some suggestions. And there's also like different voice channels. So some of the teams would go to their own like voice channels and chats. So it's like, even though we're kind of far away from each other, there was still that community feeling, because you feel like you're not making it on your own. Like we have buddies. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, just listening to you having a really tough time choosing the music, right? As with other
Yeah.
teams. Maybe we'd like to hear from Duncan about how the music side went.
Yeah, so music side is a little bit different. So Dasha and I thought that we could have everybody come together. Uh, so what happened was Darshan was just literally just guiding people in. I was just trying to get people like, hey, what do you want to do? You want to do composition? You want to do sound effects? But most of all, everybody was pretty much doing music. Kian actually had her laptop died throughout the session. So, so F in the chat, please, for that. And so what we did was we instead got together with a couple of other people. We have Uncle Ali who did like voiceovers. So we thought, hey, why not just have us come together and sort of create like an audio storyboard, like an audio script, so to say. So instead of having a film script, you would have a sort of audio journey. You know, no visuals, just audio. So we had like some cafe-ish sort of vibe going on, and then we split. So that was like 5 in 1, and then within the 5 also we had like a couple of composers and sound designers too. But I think the hardest part was actually getting to start the whole thing, because coming from an audio perspective, like, you know, when you do game jams, you don't actually start with audio. You usually start with, hey, what do we want to play? You know, what is the theme, and then you sort of diverge from that. But like coming out from like a theme called Woven, like we were like trying to brainstorm, like, you know, what can you come up with Woven? And we just thought of strings, we thought of connecting things. But to be honest, at the end of the day, we sort of just went with it, kind of thing. Because like we couldn't actually think about it, so we just went with it. And then, I mean, in the end of the day, we sort of came together and you know, hold hands kind of thing, and then just let it go, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was the we actually tortured you all on purpose. So the whole point of Rising Sea was actually to start the jam on unorthodox medium. So this year the unorthodox medium was really starting from audio. So I think just a heads up, in the future we might even start with fashion, we might start with architecture, you know, people that are not used to jamming from. You know, so that's why we decided to torture the audio team in that sense, you know. And maybe Duncan, you can share a bit about how it started with Singapore, because it was Malaysia, Game Audio Malaysia and Game Audio Singapore actually collaborated on this. So maybe you can talk a bit about how we started there and how we got all the specifications.
Well, it all came out from Level Up KL anyways. Sorry if you can hear the noise outside. It's actually raining, you know, cats and dogs right now. So Gwen and I actually like talked about this. I think Gwen also had like the audio centric sort of inspired game jam already started before Level Up KL, but it was up on only until like January that we sort of got together and started like bringing people and then asking people who is kind of interested. At first, we didn't actually get much, to be honest, because there's not many composers here that are game centric. They're very much towards like the linear side of post production, not much towards the game side. So it was hard trying to get people coming in, but by just asking around, it's just pretty much new people, so to say. So that was another difficulty in that sense, so added towards it, because everybody was like, oh, what should we be making? Should we be making layers? Should we be making just one-shot loops, vertical composition, horizontal? Like nobody knows the terms, but we have to like sort of guide them. Hey, we have a set guideline. What BPM? What you want it minor, major? Keep it at this length, I think. So that was like our collaboration in the sense that we try to set standardizations and sort of let it go.
The technical specs, right? Like we even brainstorm about like added challenge. Like if you want to match somebody's intro with somebody's loop, with somebody's outro, you know? So
Right,
it's like all
right.
the intro is different from the loop, is different from outro. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back about all the chats we had, it's like there's a lot of brainstorming in the sense that we had one idea that it was literally a bingo genre kind of thing where you just ask everybody to write down a genre on a piece of paper and then you drop it into the box and you shake it. So and then when you draw it out, that's literally what you will get. So you might get like hip hop and country, and then so you get like Lil Nas or something, you know. We didn't do that, but because like I think that would like create a lot of havoc.
Yeah, can you imagine the trickle down effect? Like if we have country and hip hop, how are the developers going to interpret that?
Yeah, how is it gonna with woven? You know, it's ridiculous.
There's too many parameters, so we had to
Yeah.
simplify the whole process, right?
Yeah. Plus, we only had 3 hours, so the first hour was just ridiculous. Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? What we gonna do?" Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know about on Singapore side. Like, what's Singapore side like for the audience?
I think the Singapore side, we mostly struggled with deciding whether to have a physical meetup or a online meetup, because in February in Singapore, like we were kind of like in a limbo, you know, of whether we should be at home or should be going out, because it wasn't a complete lockdown yet. Yeah. But we can talk a bit more about COVID later. You know, I think I want to hear from your, you know, when y'all talk to the participants from your own countries, right? What did it feel about Rising Sea as a whole movement? About this, when you tell them about, oh, it's a collaboration between Southeast Asia, this is what's going to happen. What reactions do you get? What did they feel about it? And do you feel like they want Rising Sea to be an annual thing or continue? Maybe Michelle, you can share a bit about that.
Yeah, we absolutely love that, because like the whole coming from an unorthodox perspective, and then trying to like think of a game that's not a rhythm game was really interesting. But I wish like there was a more like communication between like the music and us as well, because like even though everybody's online, it feels a little bit like we're still working in our little tiny bubble.
Right.
Yeah. And if
that's very good pointers.
Yeah. If after COVID we could all do that in a physical location, that would be amazing. But yeah.
I think next time, like if it's gonna be like that, right, that we should really make use of our group Discord and have them present to talk to each other as well.
Yeah, especially like sometimes like especially looking through all like listening to all the music, and I know like all of the musicians have thoughts in your head about what you would like want, and I think that like talking like in a more of a collaborative way, because right now it felt a little bit like here so many music
throw you the assets.
Yes. And like how do we choose, and like as much as we want to have everything in like yeah, and there was more music than sound effects than we would have wanted. And I think most of us ended up using the same sound effects.
Oh no.
We will note that for future.
But does that mean like we should like sort of assign like one package as for one team or the other, and then so that we don't get like multiple usage kind of thing?
Yeah, that's true. Like with the music, we did list like, okay, this group already took this music. You have to pick something else. But with the sound effects, it's like, because there wasn't that many, so we kind of just shared.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And also there's more music than, unfortunately there was only like 8 games, so there wasn't as many teams in from the Philippines. Yeah, I wish there was more, but yeah.
Never mind. Next year we will push out more. Now that we are the first year ready, right? And then people see the product, they'll be like excited for it, and they want to take part in next year's ones.
Yeah, and next, because now since it was online, and you know, with internet, it's not so great in the Philippines. So yeah,
like the global game jam of Southeast Asia, I guess. Like
yes,
yeah.
We should all go to a resort.
To a resort, oh my goodness.
And make a game.
Yeah. Yes. or like a boat.
Yeah,
we
pirate
did talk
jam.
about like a train jam from like China down to Singapore, right? In that sense.
Yeah, we briefly spoke about that.
wow.
Like, oh, what about a train jam that runs from Singapore all the way to China?
Well, you go for China Joy at the end of the day, you know, it's like it's like you do train jam to go to GDC, but this is like the Asian version
Yes.
of the GDC.
But
Yeah.
Philippines, for an archipelago, we have to take a boat.
You have to take a boat. You have to take
No.
a boat.
And
And stuff
Indonesian
from
too.
Indonesia, they fly up, they fly to Singapore or something.
to
stuff
fly.
there.
Yeah.
No, but I think
Yeah,
that
and-
would be like cost-wise issue for that one. But,
Yeah, it'll be too expensive, and also our train infrastructure in Asia isn't as straightforward as in the US. You know, for example, like we don't even have a straight train to KL, like from Singapore.
no.
Nope, we have to change somewhere in the middle of Gemas.
And future infrastructure improvements, so the train would just literally the train journey would take like an hour. So it's like, do you really want to have an hour game jam? I think that's like impossible, right? Oh, please. We'll just save everybody for the hassle.
Yeah. So maybe Rena, you want to share about like how the artist felt about the whole Rising Sea?
Okay, there's some sound in the background, so I'm sorry. Maybe it's kind of muzzle up. From our side, the artist, I try to ask the artists that have to join the art jam. It's from many different industry, I guess. So the half is inevitable from the game industry, and I think there are some of them that actually not what is it, not known by the work from the game. So someone is like they making arts, just illustration and things, and some there are this illustration who usually con artists who make merchandise and such, and the other are usually make comics. So the interesting is there this one girl who her name is Nana. So she make an artwork, and from the audio she didn't get the game from the audio, and then she make one paragraph of her own story from the audios. It's like she interpret what kind of story that can be made with that background music and such, something like that. So that's what I get. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and since we are in the midst of the pandemic right now, so we choose to make whatever we got from every donation we got from this out jam. We plan to donate it to fight the COVID, whatever is it around the medical term or just the social help and something like that. So people, please donate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is a
so
great time for game devs to really help raise funds, right? For whichever cause that you feel strongly for.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of messy here in Indonesia. Maybe I talk a little about the COVID-19 in here. So like the graph is keep going high, and so some of us still didn't know how to when will we have to work, or we just keep staying home. So it's because from the start of this month, the government says that we have to open the is industry again. So some people have to go to work, and some are not. But the grab is keep going high. So yeah, we kind of have this kind of dilemma right now. I think that's all.
Yeah, there's like so many things going on right now. So I think it's maybe a good time to segue into each of our countries. Maybe we can share a bit about how the COVID situation has been, from the start of the year to now, and like how are the game developers in your region really coping with it? Maybe Duncan, you want to go first?
In terms of how COVID has actually affected us, we are actually starting to feel the effects. Like we've been tanking the past 2 months, 3 months, but I've heard a couple of tweets saying that they are downsizing, just making it, taking off the weight kind of thing, just so that they can stay afloat. Which is kind of, it's kind of sad when we actually in the position to actually grow, larger, and we get hit by this COVID thing. But I guess it's sort of like a wake-up call saying that we gotta be efficient with our team, I guess. And yeah, I mean, in terms of for me myself, I've sort of been personally affected too, in the sense that if I didn't do my networking beforehand, trying to get the gigs, like I would have sort of like be trying to survive too. But I'm glad I sort of got some so that I can sort of work during the work from home, because like audio stuff we can literally just find stuff from our home and record them and design them into like mangle them into like some crazy audio SFX. But like which is true for a lot of positions out there too, because like, everything can be source controlled, work remotely and stuff like that. But it's the game studios that have landed properties that are renting the areas that are actually taking the full brunt of it if they don't negotiate their rents with their landlords. So that's sort of like our situation. Just we're sort of tanking. Thankfully, we're going through a relaxed CMO, which is a control movement, a much more relaxed restriction order till our Independence Day, which is August 31st. So we'll be like trying to get people back to work and everything. But most of the people are still trying to stay safe, in my opinion, from what I've been seeing. So yeah, it's not looking great. I mean, it does look like the same with like film industry or so, because like the post-production people, they have the stuff working on
the film industry gets hit hard, events and film, especially.
Yeah, but the post-production sort of like they still get work in between, but like because it's nobody's shooting anymore, they don't get work past the 2 months, so it's getting hard for them to tank or so. Yeah, so we just have to see. I mean,
Singapore is
NSR
no
is
straight
being,
roads.
NSR is being delayed because of it. Not because of, I don't think it's because of our restriction movement or control, but I think generally like everybody's affected. I think it's best to like just take a step back and reassess the situation and before like moving full out. So. Yeah.
So for those who are unaware, NSR, which Duncan mentioned, stands for No Straight Roads, is developed by Malaysian developers at Metronomic. And it's one of the most anticipated games in Malaysia right now. So it's a game about, it's an action game about music, and so a lot of eyes on it. But it was supposed to be released on 30th June, but unfortunately it got pushed back because of COVID. So, I mean, this is one of the many things that, the games industry in Malaysia has been affected. I think similar to Singapore, we're kind of easing up now, but I think for me personally, I'm starting to rethink about the whole remote work thing versus working in the office. Like, is it really necessary to go out for meetings versus just having them on Zoom, or even working remotely, the flexibility that we get used to versus going to the office again. So I'm interested to know on Michelle's point of view, like Michelle, you're now in Australia, right? Like how different is it from like what's going on in the Philippines in terms of like the COVID restrictions lifting and the whole pacing and how it's affecting the games industry?
Yeah, so I'm currently in Australia, but I do hear about my friends in the Philippines. And so the Philippines normally on a work day, it has a horrible traffic. So it takes you like, when I was working there, it would take me like an hour or so to get to the office, another hour to go home. So now that like, well, there's 2 points. Like one, the whole working from home, it does, like from what my friends told me, like at least they're not wasting so much time. So they could sleep late. Like they're more productive during the day because like they're not wasting time just sitting in traffic. However, internet isn't so great. And it's really hot now in the Philippines. So I have a friend tell me that since, if you're working in office, there's always aircon on. But if you're at home and you wouldn't want to because, electricity bills. And then she told me like, oh my God, my computer's now heating up. Yeah, and the reason why I'm sitting on this panel right now because a lot of the game developers in the Philippines don't have stable enough internet. So it's for Zoom, and some of them are using 4G for work, which can get really expensive. Yeah, so it's kind of sad. But hopefully, like after this COVID situation, like some companies would reconsider, like, yeah, people can maybe work from home, but maybe give them like an allowance for internet and electricity bills. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you bring up a very good point that while a lot of us are kind of happy being on Zoom and being online, but not everybody is privileged enough to have a stable internet connection, for example. Or like, not all of us are living alone. Like a lot of us are like with family members, have kids that, you have to take care of them, and it's not very conducive for like a 1 hour Zoom call or a official meeting, that sort of thing. So I think as employers, maybe we should be more understanding, right, of our staff, especially when you have to go off somewhere to, I don't know, change diapers or like your kids need help with schoolwork, etc. And the internet thing was interesting also. So just to share an anecdote, is like a colleague of mine, actually she has internet, but her internet isn't strong enough. So when she's working in her room, she has very weak internet, and they can't even get the internet person to come down to fix it because of COVID. Like you can't have strangers come into your house, right? So yeah, they're just stuck there. And like not only that, like I think a lot of us from Asian families, we have to battle with our parents right, who have their needs at home also, who have their routines, who want to use the living room. So like let's say you have to work in the living room, you have to negotiate with them, and it's difficult because Asian parents so it's that sort of thing that we take for granted.
Yeah, and Filipino family, like you don't move out, you don't live at home forever.
Yeah, exactly.
And it
or
gets
until
really
you get married or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's something that's culturally quite different in the sense that when you want to talk about independence or moving out, for a lot of Southeast Asian families, we tend to stay with our parents, for quite a long time, and we have to learn how to negotiate our privacy and space within the family. Yeah. Rena, do you have anything to add for this? Like, has it been difficult for you to be working from home during this COVID period?
As the one who didn't have any husband or kids to take care of, I think the only thing that kind of trouble for me is that me personally is kind of like over connected with people, that everyone keep chatting me, and we can talk about works all day, and even though I keep time management for myself, that okay, this from this time to time I should not answer any chat, but in the end I answer it all, something like that. And so for the past, I think for the past month, I have this I don't know, random sleep time, and so one time I just sleep in the 6 in the morning and wake up in 1 a.m. and the other, I feel like I need to wake up all around. I think that for me is that, and in my house there are 6 people in here, including my parents and my 2 siblings as well. So it's kind of It's kind of so loud, and people keep talking, and my family is very loud, and they love to sing, so I can hear people keep singing all the time. and they what is it? They opening the TV and start playing YouTube on TV and start karaokeing into it while I work. So I kind of like okay. So I want to. I read it in some article, I guess, that if you want to have a good sleeping pattern each day, you have to separate the workstation and the sleeping station in 2 different rooms. But I cannot do that in here because this is my bedroom is the only thing that that's silence enough for me to work. So yeah, I kind of getting a hard time in that.
Was it difficult for you to like negotiate with your parents about what times to stay quiet so that you can work?
Actually, I didn't really talk about it with them because I think before this, I kind of work from home as well because I freelance much. So I didn't really bother by it. But somehow by taking my day job to home, it's kind of messy. so so yeah, I think I really didn't talk much about it with them, but sometimes it's like what is it? I think I hate to disturb what makes them happy at time like this. Yeah. So I think it's like okay, I just try to coping up with myself. I think I will find a way somehow because this is a hard time for everyone, and I can see how my parents deal with it and how stressed they are. So when I just see how they can happily sing and karaoke in there, I think that okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Cause like like sometimes when we get irritated or annoyed, right? I think culturally we tend to also want a quite harmonious household. Because I think for me, like if I had noisy parents, I also wouldn't really like talk to them seriously about it. I think it's just like firstly, like we don't want to have this confrontation that could possibly lead to awkwardness in the household, right?
Yeah.
They are parents after all, and they paid for the house. So in that sense, we are trying to preserve the harmony in the household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually tried to avoid. I actually changed my sleeping pattern just to get some quiet time. So like, if they wake up if their activity is like literally gonna be like morning to like evening, I would just try to work overnight, and just sleep through the day when they're active, kind of thing. So. But
So
I hate that actually too. So I got back to my usual schedule. But that's like trying to switch like the nocturnal and then yeah.
Absolutely. And I think Rena also brought up a point about now that we are always at home and always in our bedrooms, it's so tough to draw the distinction between work and rest time, because you are constantly engaged with your workmates, right?
Yeah. That's kind of tough. But somehow lately I kind of get the hang of it. I hope I can get back to my usual sleeping pattern.
Yeah, you gotta draw boundaries for yourself.
Yeah. I'll try.
Yes, we can all try. Anyway, this COVID thing doesn't look like it's lifting super soon yet. So we can definitely foresee working from home for a bit longer,
Yeah. Don't travel to Indonesia right now.
Yeah. So hopefully things settle down quite a bit. But in terms of like global outbreaks and stuff, I think I would like to segue to another topic that's close to everyone's heart as everyone's watching. I'd like to talk about Black Lives Matter. And I think for some of y'all or some of those from Southeast Asia, we feel we are in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. And I want to ask the three of you, like, how does it affect you, Black Lives Matter? A movement that's supposedly happening in the US. Like, how do we as Southeast Asians relate to whatever's happening there right now? Does anyone want to go first? Maybe Michelle, you want to go first? No? Rena?
From my side, it's more like it's like, what is it? Indonesian. It's kind of hard topic to talk actually. So from Indonesian side, we the good thing is we can what is it? Indonesian, how to say, pembangunan. Okay, how to Indonesian development is more like Java centric. So all the capital Indonesia are in Jakarta, in Java Island, and sometimes we forgot that there are other islands as well, and sometimes like by the by the Black Lives Matters that been rising in US, we kind like being what is the term? I kind of lost in translation here. Sorry, guys.
Take your time.
What is it? Yeah, I think it's
You gotta
more
wove
like
your words.
we kind of like reflecting to ourselves that there are so many things. It's not just about there are so many things beside us that so near to us that are we also kind of have racism in here, and sometimes that yes, racism and injustice in here for some people, and that that we have to take care of. And there are some because of that there are some movement in Indonesia that to reminding us that there are this minority that need that need our attention as well. Yeah, maybe that if there's something else that came up to my head, I can share it. Maybe you can move to another person.
Sure. Duncan, you want to share about
I think
Malaysia?
that's literally what we're feeling also. Like yes, I agree, Black Lives Matter, that's the point in US, but we also got to think of our locality too. Does that work in our context? I don't think so, but yes, to a certain extent, because Black people are still here. But our context is more towards minorities. The foreign workers that are here, the three main ethnicities like for Singapore is going to be like India and Chinese. I don't know about the population in Singapore, but Malaysia
Malay,
is
Chinese,
yeah,
Indian, and others.
yeah. So we also need to, shine light on the others. Like we still have East Malaysia too. Shout out to our East Malaysian brothers and sisters. So it's not about, yes, this is great, like shining light on like the inequality of like the majority on towards the minority. I think we need to step back and just address our issues and focus on our issues. Yes, the big country, Uncle Sam is actually having this situation. That doesn't mean we should jump on the same boat when we are not even related to it. We still need to address our local issues first.
And if you have capacity, why not address both, right? Your own country and also lend our solidarity to Black Lives Matter as well.
Oh yes,
right?
yes,
If we have the capacity,
yes.
right?
Yes. If it's so dear to you, if you have friends,
yes.
like if you study in America or study in the States, or you've worked there already, and you have friends that that you're so dear to, you don't want to lose them, kind of thing. Yeah, sure. Then that's relatable to you, right? That's within your context.
And it's meaningful to you. You're not just like jumping on the bandwagon, and you truly care. And I think it's great that also games have a part to play in this. So for example, the HIO, they released like 700 plus games, and now it's risen up to like 1,000 plus games where people can buy and raise funds, right, for the Black Lives Matter movement. So if I'm not wrong, they raised a lot more funds than a lot of corporations did, which shows how powerful games are actually when it comes to these social issues, right? So I think my next question would be like, do you think social issues have a place in games? And especially coming from Southeast Asia, when we think about our own issues in our own country, which, by the way, just a footnote, like some of our countries have censorship happening now. Singapore is one of them. You know, we always have censorship, so there are some things that are quite touchy. So this is the irony of it all, but you know, we can talk about it today, you know, based on using games as a medium to talk about injustice.
I think for us, Malaysia, I think yes, right? Because we don't have like, I mean, you get censorship in films for sure in Malaysia, right? But I don't know whether about censorship in games yet. So hint, you might be able to take advantage of that and try to address very controversial stuff. But of course, like you would just raise a lot of alarms. That's it. But I think the short answer is yes, because it's just another medium to express ourselves anyways. It's just how well you express it.
Rena, what do you think? In Indonesia, especially?
I mean, Indonesia, it's like there are some the recent event is more like from the election, Indonesian presidential election. It's like there are some kind of messy in there, and some people are making game about it.
Oh wow!
But somehow I feel like there are still some kind of issue that still. What is it? Still so touchy to bring out in a game that somehow I want to bring it out, but since it's still, what is it? It's still. Am I freezing?
No, yeah, good.
Oh, okay. Somehow the screen is kind of freezing. I mean, there's some kind of social issue in here that that's so hard to bring in a game that sometimes makes us hesitant to to plainly use it in a game. So sometimes we have to put a layers in it, and we just try to speak about it just a little bit. Yeah. So I think that's what makes me sad actually, because we really cannot say our concern in a medium that we love like this. So yeah, I think that's it. And maybe because what is it? And from the COVID-19, I guess some Indonesian association, game association is more like they make this game jam that to take what is it? Awareness for COVID. And they make game jam, and they make this mini game to release and something like that. But yeah, we have this kind of small things that we try to put it in a game. But my biggest concern is that when it's about racism, injustice, or some kind of like old problem, like I don't know, some kind of our civil conflict 98. How to say it? Yeah, I think something like that. It's kind of hard that we cannot speak our mind in a game.
So for example, like let's say you were to organize a game jam about, like, let's say LGBT content. Is that something that's quite that you would try to tread cautiously?
Yeah, especially LGBT, because even though there are some open-minded people in here, but we still cannot accept it openly in Indonesia. And even though if it's just personally people meet people, it's already okay, and we already have transgender culture from the very traditional culture, I guess. But somehow lately it's kind of problem in here, so we cannot speak about it openly, and
Mm.
it's kind of like forbidden topic for us. So when there are some some articles, some news, someone taking speak up in a social media about it, somehow we have this kind of different two side that that basing and supporting.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's still a hot topic for us.
Mm. Yeah, coming from a association standpoint, right, it is also difficult for us because we have government backing. Like let's say your games company or games association is receiving some kind of government backing, right? Then you really have to watch yourself in terms of what themes you can or cannot promote. So for example, for our association recently we held the Yana movement, You Are Not Alone. So it's a global movement to raise funds for people affected by COVID. So for our country, we decided to raise funds for our migrant workers, and by doing that, we are actually donating the money to a non-profit organization. So we have to do our research. Does this organization, do they have bad blood with the government? How do we frame it in such a way that it is positive, like it is helping them positively, rather than criticizing the policies that actually made them marginalized in the first place? So these are the kind of things that we have to watch ourselves while running a games company or association.
Okay.
Yeah
Yeah.
So I think it's quite different for different countries. I think moving on, I want to ask about, like, now that we are representing each of our countries, right, and in line with Freeplay's theme, belonging, what does, I know it's a very big topic, but I think it's worth talking about, us as Southeast Asians. What does belonging mean to you in your own country? And yeah, give it some thought. I would really like to start with Michelle again, because I mean, Michelle is located overseas now, and you have Taiwanese blood, and you are also from the Philippines. So I think it'll be very interesting to ask about what belonging means to you.
Yeah, I'm a third culture kid, which means that I grew up in a country with a culture that's different from my parents. So growing up, I've always feel like a foreigner. And then, so I worked in the Philippines, and I also worked in Taiwan. And when I went to Taiwan, I also felt like a foreigner. And when I went to the UK, where everybody's doesn't look like me, I actually felt fine because I'm actually a foreigner now. And then moving here to Australia, I feel the same way. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm pretending to be somebody else, and it's perfectly fine to be like, but like in a way, in the Philippines, we have this term called bayanihan, which is like people take care of each other. So in a way, like how the game industry works. So when I was working in the Philippines, I was working in outsourcing, and we were like hundreds of people in that company and some companies die, like our companies died, and then other companies pop up, and then you have friends from all the different companies now, and we all take care of each other. And that belonging is like, you have this group of people, like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a very big industry, but it's not small either. It's like, and then you watch out for each other. And even when we go abroad, or like some of my friends, they went to work in AAA companies in Europe, and they would still think about the people back home. And in terms of like work, or like a lot of my friends do freelancing now, and then we kind of like pass gigs to one another. So that's sort of like that belonging, like we're all in that same boat together. We all help each other out. So yeah.
I think that it sounds like the sense of community and friendships that we have forged in each of these countries is belonging to you, right?
Yeah.
And of course, now with Discord, does it make it easier for you to keep in contact with your friends in the Philippines and in Taiwan, for example?
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, I'm still part of all the Facebook groups, all the IGDA groups in different countries, and I still keep tabs on what everyone's working on. And then so it is pretty good. And like with the Rising Sea project, I was working with. So I'm physically in Australia, but I'm able to work with artists in the Philippines. So it's just like really good. Yeah. So that whole, I love the internet. Like The fact that we're all here right now is like because of the internet. Like you don't have to be physically located in the location, because especially like with going to international conferences or like even studying abroad, that's something that's quite difficult. Like Philippines. So like the opportunity for us to like all gather here and like be able to attend this for free, which is really good.
Yay!
So it's like, like you don't have to be physically located somewhere, you can still take part in this. So that's really nice, like this belonging.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I feel you. Like I think all these communities, especially revolving around games and game dev, somehow you just feel at home, right? It doesn't matter which country you're from.
Yeah, especially, yes. I have another panel, I'm just gonna sort of plug it in, which is called Making Space on Friday. It's at 1 p.m. where I will get to talk. Well, it was pre-recorded, so I already got to talk to them. So we managed to talk to people from Canada, from South Africa, from Brazil, from Malaysia, and hearing everyone's stories. And like even though we're in like different locations, it's nice. Like
this is 1 p.m. in Melbourne time.
Oh yes, 1 p.m. Melbourne time. So that panel is called Making Space, Empowering Underrepresented Voices, and hearing everyone's stories and how much similarities there are, even though we're all co-located in different places. That felt really nice. It's like, oh my God, those are my people. And it's such a diverse panel. Like it's yes.
Cool. Yeah. So to add on to the plug, I've entered the
Yeah.
details in the chat. Please attend it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's cool because like you said, we have a lot of similarities, and I'm sure when we speak about what we talked about COVID just now, it's definitely relatable to a lot of people. Rena, what do you think? What does belonging mean to you? I mean, you've always been in Indonesia, right? And share a bit about Indonesia, being an Indonesian, and how do you feel when you traveled to, like, for example, GDC for the first time and stuff like that?
I mean, if it's about GDC, I feel like the first time I'm going overseas is for me to go to GDC for speaking, and at that time I feel like I don't know. There are so many things that's different from Indonesia, culturally speaking. It's more like how the people are minding their own business, I guess. So in Indonesia, it's more like even with the stranger, we kind of like, even though we just walk on the street and meet strangers, sometimes we can still like say good afternoon, good morning, something like that. But in GDC, it's more like everyone walks so fast and somehow like what is it? They mind their own business. Maybe it's kind of cultural difference, I know, but sometimes I feel like Indonesian people kind of like what is it? Nagging each other. So sometimes like they nag on whatever we do. They nag on how well we do on the job, how well we do on our love life, I guess. And if you're already married, how many children do you have, and why suddenly we make another children? Yeah, but sometimes by going to GDC and get back to Indonesia, sometimes I'm really glad that we have this culture, because we have this culture to help one another in a way that so when, even though that in one neighborhood, when a house is kind of, we have some, I don't know, difficulty in whatever economic speaking, or maybe just there's someone who just died in the family, the neighborhood is kind of like helping each other, and they didn't, what is it? They didn't hesitate to reach out to us and ask if we need any help, and sometimes they didn't even ask and just help anyway. I think that's what makes me belonging in our community, because sometimes that I feel like I need to be left alone because this is too much, But at the other hand, I feel like I'm so glad that we have this so caring culture in our community.
Yeah. I think it's like a little bit of a compromise, right? Like you're saying that culturally people are generally more nosy and interested in your life, right? But it also means that they're very warm and they won't hesitate to help you out when you need it, right?
Yeah. It's kind of goes both ways.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of us as well. And even in Singapore, I'm starting to see differences within family dynamics, like for example, my family, we're very cool, we're very cold, very like, and we mind our own business. Like my family is very self-sustainable. Like we don't ask each other for help. So we are quite competent in our own ways, but at the same time, we're very cold, whereas I see other Singaporean families, right? They always talk over each other. They argue a lot, but they also are very warm. They reach out to each other a lot. So it's like a lot of this give and take happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Duncan? Like you studied overseas, right? And you came back recently to Malaysia last year. What does belonging mean to you? Like, do you feel more at home here in Malaysia? Are you getting used to it?
I think belonging for me is more towards with people who share the same experiences with me. So like they go through the same thing in some way, like big systemic experiences. Like say if you go to the States, you belong with the group of foreign students pretty much. And I guess the fact that I feel belonging back home is because like, I don't have to worry about visa issues. You don't have to apply for visa for work. You don't have to like, you're not in the hands of like the government over there. And you have the time to sort of grow without worrying about legalities. So I think that's belonging for me. So I feel that I belong properly back in Malaysia because I have time to like invest in like my growth in my career kind of thing. Whereas if I'm, overseas, I probably would need like 200% kind of effort. But it's belonging is more towards like, is it
You
comfortable
just feel
for
comfortable.
you?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's for me, lah. Very, very simple.
You feel mentally and emotionally comfortable enough for you to excel your craft, right? As opposed to maybe being overseas, you're a bit anxious and a bit emotionally insecure that distracts you from your craft. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yep, exactly. I mean, one main thing would be the weather too. Like I do not belong in cold weather. Like that's like a sweet spot, So
yeah, I don't agree with that, but I'm like melting here. Just now I think some of you were mentioning about we want to save money so we don't turn on the air conditioning. Totally feeling it right now. It's really gross. Like I'm wearing my headset, right? Every time I take out my headset, there's like sweat on it. That's how gross.
Yes.
Sorry, TMI, too much info. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's cool that all of you shared about what belonging means to you. I think especially as with we are more globalized and we get on the internet more and we tend to make more international friends, I think it's important to know what really brings us comfort. Like we still need our safe space ultimately. Safe space so that we are in good mental health and emotional health to be able to go out and be brave and face the world outside,
Yeah, in the end it's gonna be Earth versus Mars or something, Not
Can it not be
countries.
versus anything? Can it just Earth and Mars?
Earth and Mars, I guess. Yeah. You still gotta have the healthy competition, right?
So I think we have a bit of time left. So maybe I'll just segue into like what do you want to see coming out more from Southeast Asia? Like what do you want people not from Southeast Asia to see more of from Southeast Asia, And I think like we just released our Rising Sea projects and everybody's saying how amazing the art is and they're like just blown away by the game. So, is this something that we want to continue? What more do we want to do to showcase to the world about Southeast Asian game dev and art?
Oh,
Yeah. Anyone can go first. Maybe
think
Rena,
I'll-
you want to go first? Or Duncan?
I think we want to streamline the process. I do like the idea of having a audio-centric jam, and then it blossoms into something more, because there's still a lot to interpret from music. But I think we need to streamline the process of, like, we haven't thought of like what the music rights are, what
Yep,
sound
for sure.
effect rights are, and those kind of legalities, those kind of stuff we didn't actually address
Yes.
yet.
Absolutely.
So that's
Yeah.
one thing
Even
we
though
want
it's
to
a
address.
even though it's a grassroots initiative, it still needs some sort of legal and
Yeah, it needs to scale
structure
well.
to it.
Yeah. So
Great.
that's like the next one for us.
I think it would be cool if like Philippines just make the program, and then Indonesia make our game extra pretty. Not just the
that
cover
means-
art, but the game itself.
Yeah. The game
So
assets.
so it's like literally one thing with like music art from different countries.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that we all jam at the same time, right?
Yeah,
And then we
yeah.
just have closer communication. So we build a product that's really, really like, one
Yes.
product. Okay. Great. Yes.
And it's
Rena?
interesting how, because
Yeah,
Southeast
sorry.
Asian culture is so similar.
Yeah,
Even the words are
I've
sometimes similar.
Yeah, exactly. Mm.
yeah,
definitely
when I look
also-
at all the games, it's like really very similar to like Malaysian or Indonesian culture. Yeah, sorry, Duncan, you were saying?
I think we also like need to have like reach out towards like the other like Vietnam and Thailand.
Absolutely.
So like if you got any like game devs in the chat right now, so just hit us up, I guess.
Yeah. If you're from Thailand and Vietnam, please, we've been trying to reach out to you for years.
We want to know you.
Yes, exactly. Then we can truly make it a Southeast Asian initiative. It's not just 4 countries, because Southeast Asia is much bigger than 4 countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think before we end off for Q&A, is there any parting words from 3 of you? Like, is there anything that you're really eager to talk about Southeast Asia, game dev, yourself? Plugs. Rena, are you gonna promote your Instagram? Follow me on Instagram.
It's about follow me on Instagram. It's I put it on the chat, and alongside with I'm lately when I talk about I lost some sleep lately, it's because I'm keep working on my latest game. When the pass was around, maybe I can put the link in the chat after this. So
Yes.
please wishlist it. It's on Steam.
By the way, it won Best Audio, right? In a recent was it Taipei Game Show Awards?
Taipei Game Show.
Yeah, congratulations. Yay!
Thank you. I hope I can see more Southeast Asian friends, just like from Thailand and Vietnam as well. And so I think I'm so eager to see the other talents as well. And maybe we can, cross developing things, just like what Michelle says lately. And I think I want to know more about other industry in Southeast Asia as well. So it's not just game development. So maybe we can cross industry as well. Cross industry, cross country between Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yes. Michelle.
I don't have anything personal to plug right now because I'm doing a PhD. I'm studying.
Yay! What you doing a PhD on?
Video games, because I want to be a doctor in video games. But
Yay.
so my research is about video games, about mental health. So video games as a form of self-expression for lived experiences of depression and anxiety.
So
And
good.
also I will be hosting game jams as part of my PhD.
Wow. Join us at Rising Sea.
That's our group plug right there.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Duncan, what about you?
Um, I, I guess I can say I'm working on Exemius, creating sound effects for them.
Exemius, great, great.
So, Exemius, yeah, I'm a Box Studios. That's like the main one I'm doing right now, and that's pretty much it. I also
Tell
released
us what Exemius is about.
Exemius. It's very hard to say. It's like FPS slash RPG. You can take you can be a commander to dictate teams into battlefields kind of thing.
It's the RTS slash FPS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
RTS slash FPS depending on what you want to play. That's pretty much it. And yeah, that's game side. That's it. I hate
Great.
plugging. I just feel so uncomfortable plugging stuff. It's just weird.
It's fine. It's great. Yeah. It's everybody's listening, so no
Yes.
harm plugging. So thanks, Duncan, Michelle, and Rena. Thanks so much for being part of this panel. Yay! Hope
Yay.
everybody in the audience learned quite a bit about Southeast Asia. So I think now we will proceed to Q&A. We got a question. The question is, where do Southeast Asian games get funding? Who wants to go first?
From everywhere, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if we want to try to get funding, it's since we have internet, thanks God, we can just send what is it pitch decks to any funding, and yeah, we can just make take the business online. So it's kind of somehow from my side, it's kind of easy, I guess, because we not that kind of easy, but it's reachable.
So the funding mostly comes from like government, or does it come from publishers or investors?
Publisher. For my case is publisher, because yeah, we didn't really have there are government funding as well, but it's not so often. So maybe just once a year. So yeah, most of our industries, like we try to get funding from publisher out there.
Are the publishers that you go for like mainly local publishers, like Indonesian publishers, or global publishers?
Global.
Okay.
They
Great.
are local and global as well, but mostly global.
What about in Philippines, Michelle?
Sadly, we don't get government funding.
Oh no!
but so the industry in the Philippines, I was reading the other questions about like it's kind of related how there's different kinds of game scenes in the Philippines. So there's two. One is more indie, and one that I was part of is more outsourcing. So a lot of the games a lot of AAA games, like the art is made from the Philippines. So I guess that's how, and that's a very big industry as well. Like, so that's like the bigger game dev scene in the Philippines. While with the independent, it's as far as I know, they're pretty much self-funded.
Oh gosh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Are there any like incubation or accelerator programs going on in Philippines that can help? No.
Sadly, no. But I want to plug Sir Norman Lee, who is he started the game development program in the university level in the Philippines, and he produced so much amazing game devs and their thesis. Yeah. So a lot of the younger generation, they're so lucky because he started that program in 2009, and I already graduated then, so I missed out. but because of his program, there was more of like that cultivating of that indie spirit, because they got to make games while they were still in school, and it was very practical based. So like even in university, they get to make games and they get to publish those games. So yeah.
Wow. So that legacy, does it live on,
Yeah.
even now in 2020?
Yes, they're still going. They're going strong.
Great.
And like, yeah. One of this, so Trina, another shout out. She's also gonna have a talk. Like, I forgot the schedule, but she's going to talk about her thesis project, which is about like a game about cooking. So yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that game. Very delicious looking.
Yeah,
About
all of the-
Filipino food, right?
I know. It's like, oh my god,
It's so good.
it looks so good. It makes me
Yes.
hungry. It makes me miss the food so much. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think it sounds like it's really tough for the indie devs in Philippines, and like maybe some people might even need to have the outsourcing as their day job and earn some money from that and perhaps do their own indie games,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that does happen. Yeah.
What about Malaysia? Like I understand Malaysia is completely different. You all have a very supportive government, am I right?
Yes, I guess. We do have something called so the government body is called MDEC. I can't remember the full name now, but basically they give out grants for IPs. But basically, before you apply for a grant, you actually have to put in the money first and then apply for it, kind of thing. So it just it's a matching grant basically. And I think that's pretty much most of the games.
Most of the
fun. Yeah. And then other stuff would be pretty much self-funded or passion projects. Yeah, self-funded and either MDEC or self-funded.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for Malaysia also you all have quite a bit of outsourcing studios, right? That work on AAA games as well, like Lemon Sky, Streamline.
Yes. I was actually looking at the question for what Eddie is the KL scene big enough to have many different game communities? It's technically pretty much no. I don't think so, unless like the local news actually catch on and say, hey, it's a Malaysian game maker, but we don't actually like, unless we actually stated, it's a Malaysian game maker, then people would start, oh shit, we should watch out kind of thing. But usually we're sort of an outsourcing country to AAA studios over the world, I guess.
Yeah, I think one thing to note also is because our region generally the labor cost is a lot lower, so that's where all the outsourcing comes into place. I mean, as it's the real situation of things lah. Yeah. So okay, I think we'll go down. What languages do Southeast Asian games release in? For Singapore, definitely English, since it's our first language. I'll leave the rest to answer on their own.
Also English, because Philippines.
English, I guess.
In Indonesia, it's mostly English if we want to take the game globally. But if we want to make the game just for Indonesia, we make into Indonesian language. And sometimes it's like, from our recent game, it's like so many people know that we make a game about Indonesia, and we make it in English, and people asking us to make it into Indonesian as well. So it's depend on on what people want, but mostly English.
Yeah.
I think Malaysia has the volume to handle Bahasa Malaysia or something.
Oh, you mean like consumers, like local consumers, enough to justify publishing it in Malay.
Yeah, and also Philippines have a lot of dialect. So even though I speak Tagalog and like Manila speaks Tagalog, but it's such a big island and everybody else have different dialects, and English is the one we have in common. So yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the same with Indonesia? Like
Actually, in Indonesia, we already have Bahasa Indonesia, and we rarely speak English in our daily life. So yeah, it explains why I lost in translation later that. So we have Bahasa Indonesia, but in some region, maybe in some old people, they didn't quite know Bahasa Indonesia as well. So they talking in different dialects, just like what happened in Philippines, I guess.
Yeah, the dialects. I think also Indonesia is very big, right? It's like so many people, but you're all in islands and you all have your different different communities as well. Yeah. Okay, maybe we move on to the next one. Are there distribution issues for Southeast Asia, like game distribution issues to other regions? Does anyone want to answer that?
Well, actually, a lot of the games, when they're testing, especially like mobile games, they usually open up Philippines as one of the first ones to test, which is quite interesting. Yeah.
How come?
I don't know, actually. I guess because like Philippines is like, in terms of the time zones, it's quite close to like the first, like, I mean, there's Australia. They always open Australia first as well.
Yeah.
But like Filipinos we're addicted to our phones. So, and like it's a very big like an online community. Like if you have, and it's like with a lot of the games that go viral, like Philippines is good at making things go viral.
That's a really good strength actually.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, I'm so apathetic, I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, I think if nobody wants to take this question, then we move on because I think we only have 5 minutes left. Are there many different game scenes within countries? Like how Oz has many different kinds of game scenes with different commercial focus. Yeah. So I think what the question is asking is like, is there like an art game scene? Is there like I do indie games, but I want to make money from it versus I do indie games as a hobby? And then there are those that are like AA games and they've kind of made it, and then they're just doing bigger games. Is there different scenes for that in your own countries?
Yeah, I think I sort of mentioned before. Ours is just AAA outsourcing and self-funded indie. Yeah.
Okay, so for Philippines, it's mostly these two.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Indonesia? Indonesia has a really strong indie scene, right? And but you also have Game Loft in Jogja.
Yeah, and maybe it's more like, but somehow we kind of like join in one community, I guess. So the people is keep keep talking to each other. So it didn't feel like we are from the separate things.
Oh, okay. So people like even though they are from AAA, they're still like friendly and willing to share knowledge with the indies and vice versa.
Yeah, and maybe there's a very old player who maybe didn't have time to talk again, and that's understandable. But mostly whatever you do from the media, from maybe the AAA and from the indie game, we are in this one community, and we have one Discord channel that also actively we keep talking to each other as well. So it feels like it's kind of ironic because I want the Indonesian community to get bigger and get developed more, but sometimes it's nice to see that there are these people that I knew in the internet, and even though I still didn't meet them, but I knew, oh, it's Gamedev 1, something like that.
Yeah, it's really heartening to see to hear that people are still talking to each other, despite being from like bluntly put different cliques of the games industry in Indonesia, especially when you are so far apart. I think in Singapore is I think we have the AAA scene because we have Ubisoft and we have Tecmo Koei, Bandai Namco, and then we have the indies as well. And then there are those that are indies but also very financially successful. I think in Singapore, we still have some ways to go in terms of uniting people. Like recently, we've been getting more social gatherings and like people have been coming down and chatting with each other. So I think that's a good start, But I think there's also the gamification people that maybe there are the gamification and the games as services people that also should come and join us as well in that sense. So I think in Singapore there's like different groups, but I think more effort needs to be done in terms of like sharing knowledge, you know, being friendly to each other, and nothing a social gathering cannot solve, in my opinion. So we just need to have a bit more structured social gatherings for that. Yeah. Okay, so I think like we literally have like 0 minutes or like 1 minute left. So okay, I think to end it off, let's take the final question. In the past decade, Southeast Asia has been broadly demonized as focusing over proportionately on casual and mobile games. Are you all seeing changes in your communities to grow beyond this characterization? Wow. Does anyone want to answer that?
I worked on mostly mobile and casual games. But yeah. But it's because the development time is faster, and like in the Philippines, like especially if you're working like in small teams and like startups, like kind of indie situation, that's fast turnaround, and then like having things on market that makes money. That's sadly how
I think for us, like I think in Southeast Asia we don't have like at least in Singapore we don't have a minimum wage. We are not we don't have like a basic wage to go with. So a lot of directly what we earn is what we get, you know, to sustain ourselves. So that's why financial sustainability is so important, you know, in Southeast Asia. Yeah, but I think based on my observation, oh yeah, hell yeah, there's so many great games coming up from Southeast Asia. You know, I mean, casual, mobile, PC, PS4, console games, they're all great. I mean, just seeing the talent in Rising Sea is testament that we have evolved, you know, past doing just casual and mobile games. Granted, yes, some of them are casual, but if you see the quality that goes behind it, you know that we are capable of a lot more. You know, and I've seen like some of the games that Rena has worked on, for example, it's like amazing. You know, they're definitely not what you think of as casual. You know, they're actually like really meaningful, and I feel like that is a noticeable change personally coming from a spectator in Southeast Asia. So if anybody wants to close off with any words on your observations on this, please feel free to. Rena, do you want to talk about the games that you're working on and how it's so different? Yeah, you want to talk about the games that you're working on and how like it's so different from this stereotype that we just only work on casual and mobile games?
Actually, we kind of egoist, I say, egoist about what game we want to make. But on the other hand, we kind of like have to take extra time to try to make money from other side as well. So my personal opinion is if you can sustain with casual and mobile game, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think even though the platform is casual or mobile games, I think it makes if the industry is sustained, I think we can have so many so many, how to say,
variety,
opportunity, I guess. So many opportunity to make to grow, and maybe in other time we can make our ideal game as well. So yeah, it's industry. I mean, industry must sustain, and if we cannot sustain with some kind of ideal games, I think that's a bad idea as well. So if you can sustain with console and mobile, and you can sustain it, you can still sustain it right now, just do it. It's okay.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us here, sustainability still comes first. So in terms of what can sell, you know, comes before making our dream project. But nonetheless, I am seeing more and more dream projects come out, which is really good news. Any more closing words from anyone before we wrap this up? More? Okay, thank you, three of you, so much for participating in this panel, and thank you, Freeplay and Chat, once again for hosting us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.